Welcome to another episode of Topics and Tea with your girl Nah. First off, I want to say thank you to the subscribers that I've already gained. Thank you to the views. I really appreciate it. And also to my new subscribers, if you don't know, my name is Naria, and I'll be posting an episode of Topics and Tea each week, Mondays to be specific. So make sure y'all like, comment, subscribe, share, tell a friend, and tell a friend. I really appreciate y'all. And again, thank y'all. And y'all know, gotta have my tea. This week's episode, we're going to be discussing abortions. And it's very, very touchy and personal for me. And we're going to get into it today because I feel like going back to that girl that I was when I had one. Yeah, I did have one. I'm going to try not to get emotional because it was a major thing for me back then. Looking back, it was like a major thing. And I don't think that it's talked about enough. Like, even now in my family, we've never talked about it ever since I had it. Like, once it was done, it was like, okay, that's it. Like, we never spoke on it ever again. And I feel like us parents, like, now that I'm a parent, like, I wish that I would have had that support, like, talking about it more leading up to it, and then also talking about it after, because I went into a depression afterwards. And I feel like it's treated as if it's something that we let you do every day. Like, I'm gonna just give y'all a little backstory on what happened for me. I wound up saying that I didn't want to be a single mom. Me and the baby's dad at the time were like, I guess you want to say, supposedly high school sweethearts or something like that. But once I got pregnant, it wasn't that, and I just didn't want to be a single parent. Like, he was going off to college, I was going to college, but I didn't go away for college. I was like commuting back and forth, and I was like, I just don't want to be a single parent. Like, I don't want to be like my mother. I don't want to be struggling. I don't want to do any of that. So I'm like, no, like, I think I'm gonna get an abortion. And I went, and when I walked in, everybody, like every other female in it, nobody seemed sad. Nobody had tears. Like, nobody was like sad in it. Everybody was like talking like it was a party. Like, I promise you, I tell you no lie. Like, everybody was in there talking like it was a party. Like, everybody was real comfortable. I guess because they knew. I don't know if they did know or whatever, but it was like real comfortable for everybody. I walked in immediately crying, because when you walk to the place, it's like mad people with signs outside. It's mad, like, people holding fake babies, like, oh, don't do this, like, literally bombarding you, like, don't do this, you shouldn't do this, don't kill a baby, this, that, and the third. I'm like, I already feel bad. Like, I don't really want to do this. Like, I don't want to do it, but I don't want to be a single parent either. So I'm like, okay, I get in, and now you got to sign these papers, you got to give your insurance card, now you got to go back. And what the thing is, like, they don't allow you to like see the screen when they like trying to see where the baby is to do the procedure. But it was just like going through that whole process. It was very traumatizing because you had to be put to sleep. Like, you don't know what can happen while you're going to sleep. And then afterwards, I did some research as into how abortions really take place. And this is it's a very hard and strenuous process. Like, yes, it can be easy, not to sound like get too much into it. It's just like a suction that they're back, like they're just sucking out like everything that's in there, and it's uncomfortable. Like, when you wake up, for me, I was like a little sore, like crampy or whatever. And when you wake up, you can just go home. Like, they tell you, like, oh, follow up with a doctor, whatever, and you just go home like nothing ever happened, and you continue out your day. I went home. I had to stay home for like a day or two, and after that, it was like, you got to get back into the real world. Like, it's not like, oh, let's talk about it. I feel like once you go through something like that, you need to see a therapist or a counselor, because your feelings are all over the place. Because when you become pregnant, your feelings become all over the place. So after you lose that baby, now your hormones and trying to readdress your hormones are trying to readjust, and everything is all over the place. So I feel like you need to speak to someone after that. And I wasn't given that talk, like, Naria, I know that you just did this. Maybe you need to see someone. I just feel like us as parents, I would like for us to do more. If you're someone that went through abortion and you're feeling this way, or you went through a depression, or you didn't have anybody to talk to, I'm more than welcome. I'm more than happy to speak to you about anything that you need. This is not a place where it's for judgment or anything like that. Also, I feel like now, me growing up, had I would have stuck to what God was placing me on this earth to do, just have that one partner to go through hell and hot water with, it would have been a lot differently. But again, unfortunately, that's just not what happens. That's just not life. So we got to deal with the consequences and the punches as they come. And I just feel like, again, we got to talk about it more. Like, don't just do something that life-changing and never talk about it again. Because you have to discuss, like, how do you feel? Like, I don't remember being asked from my mom or my dad how I felt after. Like, we've never talked about it again. Like, ever. Talked about it again. And it's like, I know I'm not the only one that went through that at a young age. And your family just didn't discuss it. Because it's like, once it's over, everyone feels like, well, it's over. So what do we, like, what is it to even talk about? Like, you don't want to keep the baby, so whatever. And it's like, yes, I didn't want to keep the baby, but did you ask me, like, did you really ask me why I didn't want to keep it? Did you ask me how I felt afterwards? Like, I feel like it's a series of questions that should be asked afterwards, just to make sure mentally you are okay, because that's a hard decision to make, regardless of why you have to get the abortion. It's still a hard decision to make. It still affects your body, and it can cause you, depending on if you get it different times, or it don't even have to be different times. It depends on your body. If you can get pregnant and carry kids after that because you got an abortion, because it's altering your insides. You're actually destructing your insides and your uterus and stuff like that. I didn't find that out until after. And I feel like that's another thing that should be talked about, because when you're making your appointments and stuff like that, they don't tell you things like that. I don't remember being told that. And it's important. For a long time, I didn't think that I was able to have kids after because of that. And I felt like God was punishing me because I got an abortion and I shouldn't have. I've always wondered, like, if I would have kept my child, like, what would have happened and stuff like that. But I'm grateful because I know my circumstances now. My son has the opportunity to have an amazing dad in his life that takes care of him and is able to provide for him and be present for him with no drama now. But yeah, I just feel like we should talk about it more. It's a lot that happens where I come from. A lot of people get abortions and it's not talked about. Like, you get an abortion on a Monday and on Friday you outside turning up. And I feel like it's because a lot of women, we want to deflect from what we're currently going through. We don't want to talk about what we just went through, because a lot of people have friends, let's just be honest, they're not going to tell you in your face that they're judging you, but when they leave you, they're probably discussing your business with somebody else or trying to, justify what you did instead of just being present. Sometimes it just takes for you just to be present. I don't need you to say anything, just be present. If I need to cry and scream, just be present and say it's okay, and hold my hand and say I'm all right. A lot of us don't have that. And I think that's why my circle's so small, because we don't have that. And it's just not, it's not okay, because I know mentally, like us women, we go through a lot, especially if the father's not present and you're just going through this alone. It can take a toll on you mentally, physically, and emotionally, and spiritually, because now you're thinking, why did I do that? Like, I should have just kept it. Did God want me to do that? You're feeling like God didn't put you on this earth to get rid of kids, but at the same time, mistakes happen and things just take place where it's out of your control. You're not able to control every narrative and every circumstance. Also, what happens when you get an abortion and it's your choice but not the father's choice? The father doesn't want you to get an abortion, but you've made your mind up. That's another thing that should be discussed, because it can cause a lot of friction, especially if this is someone that you still want to continue to be with, but you're not ready and he is. Or what happens when you're ready and the father's not? It's a lot of back and forth, and again, it's never really talked about, and we should just be more open and comfortable, because it's still happening today. It's not something that's taboo, that it just don't happen. We don't have to worry about it because it's not happening. It's still happening today. And it's still happening with a lot of young girls, a lot of old women, a lot of different scenarios. I feel like let's just normalize talking about it. Not really normalize it per se, but let's just get in the mix of talking about the after effects in the process, because it's I can't say enough, it is a very important. If you are a woman that went through abortion, you know exactly what I mean and exactly how I feel. It's very important, and you should definitely seek help after an abortion. I'm not sure, again, if they're offering it now, but definitely make time to speak to somebody, even if it's one time that you get to speak to somebody, even if it's not a therapist because you don't feel comfortable talking to therapists. That's going to be in my next video. If you don't feel comfortable talking to therapists, go to a friend that you can truly trust and just express yourself, because I see a lot of women going through depression. It took me a long time to get out of that, because I didn't have nobody to talk to, because my mother didn't agree with my decision. But I knew that was the right one for me. I knew that I did not want to be a single mom, but she was ready to be a grandmother. She didn't agree with it, so she wasn't really that supportive. And to not have the support of someone that birthed you, that takes a toll mentally, because I don't ever want to make my mom feel like I'm going against her, or I don't want her to feel disappointed in me. And what she told me, again, my mom told me that she was disappointed. Like, you shouldn't have did that. Like, I'm disappointed in you. And I'm like, well, would you have had me had the baby and struggle together? Because it would have just been me and you. Like, we don't know the outcome. But she was thinking on the end like, oh, he would have changed. I wasn't thinking like that. I was thinking like, if you're acting like this now, you ain't going to be ready to handle this baby in 9 months. So why are we even discussing it? And it caused friction in my household, because I primarily live with my mom. And what happens when your family don't agree with your decision, but you got to face them anyway? What happens when you're trying to keep the secret, you're trying to stay strong, but you're a woman, you have feelings, you're a human, you break down too. What happens when you don't have nobody? What happens? It can lead to amongst the different things: drinking, partying, just messing with different men, just trying to deflect. It happens. It can happen. So I want y'all to make sure y'all are having things set up in place where, if this is something that you discussed, or if this is something that you personally went through, you have something in place that you can speak to somebody. Please do not hesitate to speak to somebody. Again, it's so important, because you don't know, just speaking to somebody that one time, it can change everything. My goal here is to speak to, even if it's one girl that went through this process and she understands that you are not alone. You're going to be okay. You're going to get through it. It's a process, but I promise you, you'll get through it. If I can help one person understand that you're going to get through it, it's going to be okay, my job is fulfilled. That's what I'm here for. To talk about things that we don't talk about, because we're too scared to be judged. We're too scared to have people in our business. We don't want anybody knowing what we got going on. But you don't know, you telling your testimony could be helping somebody else that's going through that test. So never be afraid to discuss. Again, don't be afraid to discuss your pain, because it's the things that you go through in that darkness, that pain that you feel in that darkness, that produces greatness. So I want to thank y'all again for tuning into episode 3 of Topics and Tea with Na. Topics and Tea with Na. And I appreciate y'all. Again, make sure y'all like, comment, subscribe, share, tell a friend, tell a friend. I'm pretty sure y'all seen my Instagrams on this page. I'll probably put them at the bottom. Make sure y'all follow me. Hit me up. And I hope y'all remember that you are appreciated. Peace and love, y'all.